How's it going, everybody? Another week means another Q&A video. We've got questions both from the comments last week as well as people in chat hanging out. We're going to do what we always do. We're going to alternate between the ones that we have in the YouTube comments as well as those in chat. Go back and forth, answer whatever questions you guys have for us. Always my favorite videos to do for the week. Again, if you guys would like to be in these videos, two ways you can do it. Number one, you can always leave your comments and questions down below, and I'll try to get the ones that are most liked in part of the conversation. And if you guys want to skip that queue, you can always come over to twitch.tv/Lawler, where we do these every single week. With that said, let's jump over to the other screen and see what we got in store today. First one comes from Hazzy. It says, do you think Psyonix should reduce the amount of MMR lost if your teammates leave the match? And also, why do you think SSA wasn't allowed to attend the majors? Wow, you got a two question. This is really how you do Q&A. You cheat the system by asking two questions. First one, do you think Psyonix should reduce the MMR if your teammates leave the match? Yes and no. There is sometimes a pettiness, as well as like some people will purposely leave to reduce MMR and can abuse that system, so you have to be a little bit careful of that. The other side of things is I do think instead of doing it that way, and this is something I think I talked about recently, is changing just in particular like how MMR gain and stuff is decided based upon performance. Like imagine you have a really good series. Like Counter-Strike, I'm pretty sure does this. But if you have a really good series, and it depends on how it's tracked, but like if you've got an extra, like if you're putting up like 800,000-900,000 points in your game, and you've got a bunch of goals, saves, assists, stuff like that, they should find a way to equate your performance on an individual level rather than just straight win-loss. I don't know how that system would be to balance or how they would do that, but it sounds like a pain in the butt. But it would be awesome, right? Like my individual performance. The only difficulty with Rocket League though is demos, assists, clears, like really important stuff that makes it like susceptible to winning and losing, also don't always get tracked statistically. So I don't know if there'd be an easy way to do it. But for your question in particular, if your teammates leave the match, I'm pretty sure if a teammate leaves early, or like if someone disconnects, you don't get punished as heavily. I could be wrong on that, but I think that is something that happens. Like if your teammate just leaves or disconnects, that doesn't go against you, to my knowledge. I could be completely wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what happens. On the other side of things, for SSA, it wasn't allowed to attend the majors. A lot of the teams from what I saw in SSA, and again, don't quote me on this, I could be wrong, but from what I saw, SSA had a lot of teams that just didn't have signups. Like a lot of their qualifier teams just automatically got a spot in main event because they didn't have enough teams to fulfill. Also, when looking at the majority of like talent, the average skill is like GC3, I'm pretty sure. Like it's not even the highest rank because their queue system over on SSA servers is kind of a pain in the ass. So I could be wrong about that. I think they may readjust this. I think when it comes to wildcard, because they do have 2 guaranteed in a wildcard to compensate, if all of a sudden they come through wildcard and they play really well, maybe for the following season they will change that. So I think it's just with SSA such a, not only are they a new region, but then there's also not enough of a sample size for us to tell like if there's depth in the region or any of that kind of stuff. I think they were pretty restrictive on it, and that may change in the future. So to my knowledge, it was due to like amount of signups and like qualification process, as well as like MMR overall. So I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. Up next, Autumn Leaf. Love the content, appreciate the news. With minor regions improving at lands, do you think minor regions will get bigger prize pools for the regionals in the future? No. And I hate this. I hate this a lot. And it's unfortunate because even though you may see minor regions continue to have success, Fury is a prime example, Falcons are looking good, etc., the difficulty is they need to be able to justify the means of the cost and offset that with how much they're paying for those events. If you remove it from results and you look at it purely on how many people are tuning into those broadcasts, how many eyes, how many people are paying into those and consuming that product, it's unfortunate, but a lot less eyes watch MENA, APAC, OCE, SAM, etc. And until you see more people watch those things, it's going to be really difficult to justify a prize pool that's $100,000. Which sucks because arguably this is the first time that we've seen these regions play and compete in consistent tournaments for the first time in 5 years. And maybe in the future, once you start to see that depth need to be redefined and everything, they change that. But from a marketing and from a business perspective, I can't necessarily justify it. Maybe in the future if they garner more attention. But as of right now, I just can't personally see it, because as a business expense and for the reasons behind of, hey, if we spend X amount of money, how many people are going to tune in? How much of that is going to kick back into fan base? It sucks, because you do want to provide a livelihood to these players, but there's also the business side of things of whether it's justifiable or not. So maybe in the future, I hope so. I really hope so. Ways that they could do it as well is finding ways to bring in additional talent, like people in chat are saying, to provide more viewership in an English broadcast. Maybe that'll help, but you just never know. You never know. What do I think about Space Station Gaming? They've been getting better and better. You think they'll make a main event for the Worlds? Yeah, I think out of the 16 teams that are in the wild card, Space Station I think is a pretty surefire, like, hey, they're gonna make it. They have an extremely sound 3v3 team. They look great on LAN. While results didn't necessarily go in their favor in spring, you can say that about a lot of teams. Primarily looking at Space Station, I do think they are still one of my most favorable matchups, I think, that go in their favor. Like, they're just a really good team. I mean, you look at spring results and it's just, spring in general was just a weird tournament, if you ask me. Like, spring overall was just really odd. And even with that, like, they made top 6. Like, you're top 6 in the world performance wise, why wouldn't you make it out of wildcard? Wildcard's got some pretty crazy teams in there. Team Secret, V1, Space Station. You got some of the OCE teams that look really, really good. Like, we've never seen SSA. We're getting to see these secondary MENA teams that are really solid. Like, wildcard's going to be brutal. It's going to be really tough. So even with all that said, I do have some pretty good faith in Space Station. It's a good team. Chrome and the boys over there are absolutely incredible. So, bit of speculation here from Spocky. Says, what major change will have to happen to Rocket League esports to take it from an A to S tier esport? Does it just need more time? That is a lot of it. Should there be more outsourcing of tournaments? Does help a lot. The difficulty is, I think the biggest thing is you can't really outsource tournaments when there's no time for other tournaments to exist. I think right now the RLCS season takes so much up of the pros' time that unless you sprinkle them in here and there, there's not really any time for it. Gamers 8 tournament that's going on right now is like, even still, the in between 2 weeks roughly, there's not really any time for it. So if they continue to do what they have been doing with the RLCS broadcast and refine it, not only are they trying to simplify the broadcast, they got rid of the grid, it provides more time, but they also need to find ways to just make it so it doesn't take so long and it's not so grueling, which is also going to require a mentality change as well for a lot of players. A lot of players want all these extra lives. They don't want the result of one day to impact the entire tournament. But at the same time, like, that's why you have 3 tournaments per split. So I think there's going to be some refinement process. And once you do that, people will be craving for other results, and that may fix things. There's also the requirement of Rocket League Psyonix fully backing the game. The esport seems to be carrying very heavily Rocket League right now, in my opinion. And a lot of people are kind of burnt out on the game otherwise. I do think once you get more casuals into the game again, because player base definitely skyrocketed and has dropped back down to its like pre-free-to-play status almost. Overall, the player base is still more, but it's not like, yes, there is 90 million unique players playing Rocket League, but how many of them are actively logging in every single day? That's something they have to increase. And I think unique maps, custom game modes, reasons of like actual content to bring people back in is going to help them get invested in the game, which will then hopefully transition into the esport. So a lot of people, if they are into the esport, are diehards and are watching the esport, but I don't know what they're doing to bring new fans in, and that's kind of the issue. So curious to see what they end up doing for that and how they keep it going. I don't think it's necessarily stagnating. I just think we're kind of at a plateau, and we got to find something to make that next step where it escalates again, because it's been a bit. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. 67 to 72 are still signing in regularly. That's a lot of people, but like, how much does that translate to esport? You know, how many is it like casual? A lot of people don't realize that, like, the best example I can give is League of Legends. Like 90 some percent of players are unranked in League of Legends. It's like something astronomical. Most people in League of Legends tune in for ARAMs and like play the casual game modes, like all random, all mids and stuff like that. They don't actually play ranked. And I'm curious how many of those are also in Rocket League, because it feels like most people play ranked in Rocket League. I could be completely wrong on that, but I'm interested to see. And maybe Psyonix will put out an infographic. I'd be really curious to see what the queue population is. I know they went to good, greater, and whatever, or good, great, and whatever, amazing, or whatever it is. But I would like to actually see percentages of like how many people play each queue. I'd be so interested to see what that is, because I genuinely have no idea on what that looks like. But it sucks because a lot of us are like knocking on wood and hoping that UE5 is going to be the saving grace. But I also don't want that to be the like end all to be all. Like there needs to be other things in between. So it'll be interesting. Rocket League is still fairly new as an esport in the grand scheme of things. It's been around for 6 years. It's pretty new. A lot of times, like you're talking, not only is it a new esport, we had two seasons go to COVID. This is the first time we've had a true dedicated season of like circuit-based systems. So I think the World Championship will give us more of an indication of like how things are going, and then we'll go from there. So in that same consensus, W asks, what is the likelihood of Rocket League going to Epic exclusive? It depends on what they do with the game client, W. When UE5 comes out and when that update comes out, it depends on if it's going to be another, like an entire game that you have to download from scratch, or if it's going to be just an update. And I assume it will be taken off of Steam and will be on Epic only. That is my assumption. We do know that all your like items and stuff will transfer over, but we do not know what it's going to mean for the client. If it's going to be a brand new client, if it's a completely different program, if it's just a big update and it completely uninstalls, reinstalls, and you start from scratch. I have no idea what they're going to do. I'm personally hoping it's just an update. I do not want to use the Epic Games Launcher myself, but I also understand it's owned by Epic Games and it runs better on there. So I have a firm belief that it will probably be on the Epic Games Launcher when UE5 comes out. That is my assumption, and it would make the most sense for the company. So we'll see what happens. Making some rough comparisons to other major esports. Do you think there will ever be a takeover of mostly China or Korea Asian teams in the Rocket League esports scene? Nowadays, NA and EU are considered lesser regions in many esports, and Asian regions add massive fan base to the games. Will it ever happen to Rocket League, and if so, what would be? So Spocky, Spocky's getting two answered here back to back. The thing about it is, in other esports, there is a precedent in the play and in the game. I'm talking FPS, I'm talking FGCs, I'm talking MOBAs, RTSs, games that come from other games. Even though genres like BR are new, the premises of shoot head, click head is same. Those skills translate. And in Rocket League, that is not the case. There's actually, from what I've seen, a lot of people over in that fan base that don't like Rocket League because it's too hard. And they can't just pay to win. Like the pay to win culture is such a huge thing in those countries. That is something that we are disgusted by over here. But people over there are like, heck yeah, if I can spend money and get further and progress. You can't do that in Rocket League. Rocket League, you physically have to put in the time, the effort, the hour. Like you have to grind and get better. And for a lot of people, that is a turnoff. A lot of people just don't like it. So the way that they go about like even training, in the I think Japanese client or something like that, like there is the trajectory of the ball in the training in the early games and stuff. So there's a lot of things like that are different. But the issue is like games like League of Legends and everything, it's the Chinese client. Thank you. Like RTSs, like StarCraft was a religion in South Korea. Like StarCraft was a religion, an RTS that was actually the origin of what is now League of Legends. It was StarCraft. I forget the original name in StarCraft, but then eventually Warcraft 3 came out. It became Dota, which is Defense of the Ancients. And then that ended up spawning an entire genre. And then Heroes of New Worth and everything else came out, and unbelievable. No, not Brood War. There's like a custom game mode in StarCraft, just like Dota is a custom game mode. Defense of the Ancients is a custom game map created by the community to make like a custom. I forget the name of what the one is in StarCraft. All that stuff is pretty crazy, and those games and the like mechanics and the things that you learn are something that does not translate in Rocket League. Rocket League was not a thing that was something that had a precedent. Like even Sart BC, the predecessor, does not play the same. So it is something you have to start from scratch. So you're then double downing on that to where the tournament structure or the pro scene wasn't a fundamental thing at the start either. So they are starting behind. Think about how long it took us to get to the point of where we are now. While they do have all the tutorials and all the things that they need and all the tools, you still got to learn the muscle memory. So it may take a little bit and it may take time for it to get there, but it is very important for the success of the game. You're talking so many people live over there. And when they take it up, I mean, you're seeing already APAC and kind of the involvement that they're having with like Tokyo Verde and detonators and all that kind of stuff. So give it time. Give it time. Will it ever take over? I do not know. There is certain regions that are better at certain games we've seen, like because there's a precedent, like France is god tier at Rocket League. Danish countries and stuff like that, Netherlands, everything, god tier at Counter-Strike. Because culturally, starting out, that is what you grow up playing and watching. Like I was talking to Fruity once and he mentioned you can go take esports courses in his high school, in grade school. It's just a thing that they can do. So certain games and certain like cultures grasp that. Korea, Asian culture, a lot of it is like RTS, MOBAs, stuff like that, from what I've seen. So it's just a cultural difference for now. Maybe that'll change. Maybe Rocket League will blow up over there. Who knows? Fuix is asking a unique one. And I think this is actually a really fun question because I just talked to some people. So for those that do not know, I got to do press for the most recent Spring Major. If you guys haven't checked out the vlog, people in chat, you can do !vlog. Otherwise, anybody in here can go and check out the previous videos. But I got to do press for the most recent Spring Major, and there was a lot of people there who were both not only like recording and doing the interviews for the press conferences, but they're also writing articles about it. And this person, Fuix, is asking, do you think that journalism in the form of written articles is something that could work, or does this belong to the older world that esports is no longer a part of? And I think it goes both ways. While articles are great, and I'm personally different about this, I personally prefer watching. I prefer the visual content. I think it's faster, it's easy to watch, and when done correctly, consuming that is more beneficial. You can see player reactions and body language and a lot of things that in an article you don't really get. And maybe that is a new generation, or that is a current generation thing as compared to old generation, where old generation's like, yo, give me a newspaper, let me read this article online, let me check forums. We as consumers really like quick, speedy, instant gratification, and videos are very much so easy to binge. Plus the other side of it, maybe if written articles had like a text to speech where we would read the article for you, kind of like an audiobook maybe. But like I know a ton of people for this channel will put my videos on their second monitor and listen to them only while doing free play. So I do think that like journalism in form of written articles, while are great for a very niche community that wants more, but I know people much rather have audio only or video. Like people do that all the time. So I do think it is a bit outdated, but look at the amount of people in my chat right now. You guys can't see it, but the amount of people in my chat right now that are literally all stating like, wow, I'm being called out. Like I'm being put on blast right now. Because there's so many people that come into my stream and just listen passively. Like it is their, I'm training, free playing, grinding ranked, and this is my background noise. A ton of people do it. I know a ton of people watch my videos during breakfast when they're getting stuff done around the house. And I think that same thing applies towards, like, if you had in-depth interviews and articles, I don't need to watch it. If I can just listen to it, it's amazing. So that kind of stuff I think is part of the reason why a lot of people do it. So primarily, I think it is kind of outdated, and that's it. But we've got a raid to thank Fear for, as you guys can see. But that is going to do it for today's Q&A video. I'm going to go answer the lovely questions of all these people coming in and flying in from chat. But again, if you guys want to be part of these videos, we do them every Sunday. You can either leave your comments down below and make sure you like the ones that you see, because those will get bumped to the top. We try to answer those as much as we can. Or come over to the stream, twitch.tv/Lawler, where we stream every day but Tuesday and Sunday. Feel free to ask questions. Our stream is literally a Q&A video every single day. So come hang out with us. We'd love to have you. But again, if you enjoy the content, thumbs up, subscribe, notifications. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.